Okay, to get us, to continue us this evening, I'm happy to be here with you in this important moment to hear from three really devoted teams who will play a significant role in the future of student government in our university life. So, as we start, I'd like to lay out a few ground rules and logistics for this evening. We have a timekeeper who's on the front row here. And he'll hold up a yellow sign when candidates have 30 seconds remaining and a red sign when your time has expired. So please adhere to those time limits. When there are 5 minutes remaining in the debate, the timekeeper will hold up a blue sign to indicate that it's time for closing statements. Each ticket will be allowed to give an opening statement not to exceed 2 minutes. Names will be drawn or have been drawn to choose the order of opening statement, first question, and closing statement. Questions will only be asked by me, the moderator. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to answer each question, and candidates will be allowed 60 seconds of rebuttal. Only one rebuttal shall be allowed per question, with a total of 6 responses for each question. Order of response will alternate. The second question will be directed to the candidate to the right of the candidate that answered the first question, and will continue in that fashion. So for opening statements, we'll start directly to my right, move to the right, and then to my left. So with that, let us begin. To our first ticket. How has your experience in student government prepared you for this position?
They could start with the opening statement.
Oh, I am sorry.
No, you're fine.
This is my first time moderating the debate. So we will start actually directly to my right with opening statements. Yes, you have 2 minutes.
Hi everyone, my name is Courtney Wheeler.
And I'm Bilal Sheikh.
To begin, it is an absolute honor to be standing in front of you today. Both Bilal and I are passionate about continuing to serve our Wildcat community. We hope that this debate will showcase that students are at the center of our platform. Our values of transparency, experience, inclusion, and progress are tailored into every policy we will put forth, and every resolution we have already put forth for the student body. Serving as the current Chief of Staff and previously the Senate President has given me experience in the executive branch of student government. I know I have the tools necessary to properly execute our vision to next year.
As the Appropriations and Revenue Chair in Senate, I've allocated over $160,000 in funding to organizations small and large, new and old. As a University Senate Council member, I voted to expand enrollment in the Lewis Honors College to allow for returning students to apply, which expands diversity and opportunity for students. I also voted to eliminate the PCAT as a requirement for applicants to pharmacy school, making the application process more equitable. I plan on using my experience both as in Senate and on the University Senate Council to bridge the gap between students and administration when I'm Vice President.
Whether it's our plans for testing accommodations for ELS students, our support for reading days, or how we want to improve parking on this campus, we truly believe our combined experience in SGA, our work with administrators, make us the perfect candidates to usher the real beneficial change to this UK student body. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the ticket directly to their right.
Hello, my name is Kayla Woodson, and I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm a political science major. I've been involved with SGA for the past 2 years. When I decided to run for my Senate seat, I ran because I knew that I could be doing better for this university. I know that my time in life is best spent doing work for others, and I felt that when I ran for Senate, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I still believe that, but I feel that not only can I be doing better, but this SGA can be doing better for this university. This election is more than just about me or the other candidates on the stage. It's about you. It's about an SGA that's represented the students on this campus. It's about an SGA that works for students on this campus. This SGA belongs to not only me, it belongs to you all. It belongs to Muslim students, it belongs to mature student learners, it belongs to baristas, it belongs to engineering students, it belongs to everyone on this campus. So I feel that that is exactly what I'd like to do with this election through having an SGA that's more responsive, having an SGA that leads students where they're at, and not just saying that our doors are open, that we're actually asking for a seat at a table with other student organizations and asking what they need from us.
Hi everyone, my name is Edward. I'm running for Vice President here tonight in order to build a coalition between undergraduate and graduate professional students across campus. because there's a lot of shared issues that, regardless of where we're at in our degree programs, we're all here to graduate with our degrees, to establish ourselves in our careers, but along the way, we encounter some of the most important issues such as mental health, and there are different approaches to these issues across campus. There's not a one-size-fits-all, and that's why a coalition is extremely important, and that's what I'm here to help provide, right? Is to help say that I hear you, what you say matters to us, and that we'll be here to be able to make sure that we're all represented at the table at SG.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to our third ticket on my left.
Friends, family, fellow Wildcats, good evening. Good evening, I need y'all to work with me. Thank you. My name is Chandler Frierson, your candidate for the 2020-2021 Student Body President election. I am humbled and honored to be here before you in this position. As a freshman, it never occurred to me that this could be my reality. It never occurred to me that my voice could enact positive change in the lives of other students through advocacy. My family is from right here in Lexington and surrounding counties. My great-grandfather was a custodian here at UK for over 30 years, cleaning a school he couldn't attend. And now, I'm a candidate to represent and advocate for the student body. That fact alone reminds me that all things are wildly possible. Right here, right now, it's time. Throughout my time here at the University of Kentucky, I have served this campus through many platforms. I've served as the Director of Inclusion and Outreach for SGA, Senator for College of Communication and Information Systems, President of NAACP, President of my fraternity, Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, and an RA, just to name a few. The one thing that has us standing before you today is the simple fact that we will do what it takes to amplify your voice and advocate for the story and narrative of every student that steps foot on this campus. Sakruti and I are beyond dedicated to serve each and every one of you.
Speaking of a different perspective, I'm Sakruti Yaramreddy, and I'm running to be your next Student Body Vice President. I was born in India, and I moved here at the age of 5. I moved to Lexington, Kentucky, and my first introduction to the American dream was being a Wildcat. I grew up hearing Cats by 90. I grew up watching DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall. And I grew up just hearing about all the amazing things that UK has done and will do. So when I came to this university as a student, I wanted to give back to this amazing community. And I wanted to give back by helping every student achieve their goals. And I think this might be a bold...
Thank you. So we will pause for a moment and draw numbers again for order of the first question.
Whoever draws one.
Okay. Hi. Okay.
Okay.
So they'll go first, and then you'll be first.
All right, so we will begin with the first question with our ticket on the far right. So for you to start us off, how has your experience in student government prepared you for this position?
Okay, well, I've had a long and enjoyous time in SGA. I started off in LDP, which is like the freshman introductory of SGA for me. It was a really great experience being taught under Marley and Zach Gobert. Then I went on to be campus safety coordinator with Tackus Creek, and that was a really great experience. During that time, I was able to get the buses to actually run during the weekends, so having that experience to negotiate and to work on things that are important to students was a really important thing to me at that time. I then went on to run for Senator at Large, which has been the most rewarding experience of all throughout my time at SGA. I've actually been able to meet with students and to be able to work on legislation that's actually important to students at this time. So reading days in collaboration with Dean Farmer and our wellness chair, Lillian Antigua, was a major accomplishment. I've been very proud to be a part of that, and I hope to have reading days be a part of the calendar for the next year or so.
So my experience here with the student government has been as graduate senator at large this academic year. I think the act that I've been most proud of has been just a simple thing. It's just making sure that we're caring for each other, and that's when we were able to bring in the consideration for elderly care grants, right? Child care grants had already been established as a fund for all students across campus, but then a question had come up for whether we could consider elderly parents, caregivers, guardians, who, for graduate students and professional students who are tight on finances, it may be difficult to support. So that's what I've been able to accomplish there, as well as with appropriations and revenue, just being able to ask questions.
Thank you. We'll now move to the ticket on my left. The same question, how was your experience in student government prepared you for these positions?
Okay, as I said earlier, I've been in student government for the past 3 years. As a freshman, I was a part of the leadership development program. Then I was elected as the senator for the College of Communications and Information Systems. And then now, finally, I serve as the director of inclusion and outreach for Student Government Association. So I would say one of the things that has been extremely eye-opening to me in my position has been my most recent position as Director of Inclusion and Outreach. And one of the things that I find important in that role is that it's put me in places talking to students, just interacting on a very informal, organic level. And I think that oftentimes we kind of stray away from that in student government, but I think that that is the basics that we kind of need to get back to, because we are representing students, you know, Student Government Association. So with that being said, I think that also the College of Communications and Information Systems, we were able to allocate some money for a local organization called Impact to go on a conference, which was very impactful for them. So I think that that's some of my best work with SGA.
So I started out in SGA being a coordinator for the inclusion and outreach team, and then I ended up becoming assistant director this past year. And through my work with SGA, I think there's been an emphasis in learning and developing your cultural competency. And I think that goes a long way nowadays, because it's the ability to have conversations with everybody and the ability to communicate with them properly. So throughout my experiences in SGA, I've really learned how to talk to administration. I've talked to other student organizations, and I've just talked to multiple groups of people that I usually don't interact with on a daily basis, and got them to collaborate with me and get us all on the same page.
Thank you. To our final ticket to my right, the first question, how has your experience in student government prepared you for this position?
I think to first talk about, I think it's important to understand what the role of the student body president would be. The role of the student body president is to be the liaison between student government, the board of trustees, and the administration, and also be the face of student government. Throughout my time here at the University of Kentucky, I have served as the Senate president, as well as the A&R chair, and currently as the chief of staff. As A&R chair, I was able to meet with student orgs all across this campus, no matter how large or how small, for them to live out their vision. They had the vision in mind. They're coming to us asking for funding, and we're able to then give them that funding that they need to be able to live out their vision. As Senate president, I was able to meet and collaborate with orgs, again, all across campus, and oversee both the the Operations and Evaluations Committee, as well as the Academic and Student Affairs Committee, and the A&R Committee as well. As overseeing all three of those committees, the Academic and Student Affairs Committee gives out child care grants, and so we're in the face of students. But finally, and probably most importantly, is my role currently as the Chief of Staff. As the Chief of Staff, I've been able to talk with directors, collaborate with other team members, and to be the next student body president, it's imperative that I can have collaboration skills, conflict management skills, and to be able to work through every situation. There are going to be times that I'm not going to know the answer right off the bat, but it's important for me to listen to those students, tell them that I believe them and that I trust them, and take it to administrators and tell them and fight for them on the board of trustees. Because at the end of the day, me sitting on the board is the only vote students have to make change on this campus. So it's important for me to continue to listen to students, to advocate for them, and then to go to the board of trustees and fight for students on that board.
Well, the role of vice president is to be essentially knee-deep in involvement with students. And whether that be the fact that I'm the only LDP alumni who's on stage and is a vice presidential candidate, or the fact that I've been on Senate Exec for 2 years and the vice president has to run both of those programs. Aside from that,
Thank you very much. We'll move to our ticket on the far, oh, excuse me, we're finished with the first question, so we will move to our ticket on the far left for our second question. All right. What strategies do you have in mind to effectively use student fee money? It's your turn.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was unclear.
We'll make sure the clock starts now.
Okay, so student fee money, this is something that, well, as you all know, you pay tuition here. And there's a lot of fees that come with being a student here at the University of Kentucky. So I think that as you can look at our platform of advocacy, safety, and equity, these are three very important things that would kind of spearhead the work that we would be doing with your money. You know, this is an investment you want to make into us, and you want it to reap a benefit. You know, when you plant a seed, you want it to come into fruition. So I think that we need to make a lot of equitable resources. Things that we already have is like Wildcat Wardrobe, Wildcat, I'm sure some of you have taken that on some late nights. But other than that, we need to start building some sustainable programming, specifically around mental health, specifically around educational training. There's a large lack of educational training for students here at the University of Kentucky, which leads to other psychological safety issues, mental health issues, things of that nature. So I think that we need to do a lot of work when it comes to training and educational programming, and also programming that can help SGA be more personal with the student body and actually be a student's government.
And I also think using the student fee money to level the playing field, if you so call it. So we're offering free printing, so I think SGA does have the resources and the money to help people not have to worry about where they're going to get their next assignment printed. I mean, like we were saying, you're paying tuition and the money is coming to us. So we are definitely able to offer that service and make your life as a student easier.
Thank you. We'll ask the same question to my right. What strategies do you have in mind to use student fee money with?
Is it our turn or do we need to go?
It's your turn.
Okay.
Yes.
So as I have already served on student government for the past 3 years, it's important to continue to serve student organizations here on campus. That's the best way to continue to serve students is through student organizations as well as students specifically. And so whether that is giving more money to A&R to be able to give out to student fee, to give to student orgs on this campus, whether that's to give more money to child care grants, whether that's to give more money to the graduate student travel grant that we host. It's important to not only give money to that, but also to promote it so more students on this campus can hear about the resources that we already offer. In addition, it's important to talk about the services that student government already offers and to see how we can collaborate with departments here on this campus so that student government can be the incubator for new services on this campus, and so we can continue providing things such as the Wildcat Wardrobe and such as Wildcat. But if we would partner with departments, it would allow us to have more room for more incubation and more student fees on this campus.
I think it's also important to note that while the Vice President will be the leader of the Student Fee Allocation Committee, the committee is comprised of students even outside of SGA. And so one of the main points of our campaign would be to acknowledge that, we want students on campus who are even outside of SGA to contribute, what they feel, how they feel the money should be spent. And so, we can sit up here and talk all day about, how we want to spend the money, but I think it's also important that we consider the viewpoints of people who aren't in this room and who will be on the committee next year.
Thank you. And the second question for our third ticket, what strategies do you have in mind to effectively use student fee money?
So our strategy so far would focus on 2 points, outreach, and I'll get into that. Edward and I have both served on A&R this past year, which has been a very rewarding experience meeting with different organizations to be able to allocate the money for events that they like to put on, because organizations on campus are the building bone of this university. Without organizations, without places that you belong, you feel like you belong to, your time here will be worth nothing. You'll leave, because we need those organizations to keep people here. We need a sense of community to keep people here. So using that funding to go to organizations would be the best money well spent. All right, so outreach would be the biggest point. And our second idea would be to have a president's council. We have a lot of great student leaders on this university, and a lot of those student leaders are not adequately heard or have had the opportunity to voice their opinions. So having a student council would make us more effective, able to provide more collaborative events, and more, give us the opportunity to be more accessible to them. I'll let you have this.
So in a nutshell, what we're trying to do here is to ultimately work towards increasing retention rates, right? Because if you have a sense of belonging, and if you feel that you can actually contribute to the development of this university, the development of your peers at this community, then you'll be more likely to remain here, have your education here, and to ultimately leave with a very good experience, right? So the use of these fees is also to work towards building initiatives that work across different programs, and to ultimately help develop all of us as better student leaders.
Thank you all. Okay, to our third question, and we...
1 minute rebuttal.
Oh, yes, if anyone would like to rebut.
I'm sorry. I haven't voted for the first question, or we're just going to pass that down.
I think we'll move
That's
beyond the
fine.
first
Thank you.
rebuttal,
Yeah,
and we can
thank
move
you.
to the second. So if we'd like a rebuttal, we can start to my left where we began, and 1 minute for rebuttal.
Okay, so one of the first things that I heard is that the only voice to make change is the student body president's role. And one thing that we believe is that that's not fair to students, to rely on relaying your voice on one person. First of all, like, I know personally that's not something that I feel that I would be able to do, because, you know, there's 30,000 students, you know what I mean? So we need to give students the tools to be able to advocate for themselves, in addition to being able to advocate for them. And then how can you really advocate for, okay, thank you. How can we advocate for students if you don't know students in a wide range of areas? You know, that's why it's important to have those in-person organic type of relationships to be able to talk with students and understand students. Now, the student body president is the only vote on the board of trustees, so there also needs to be a relationship that's stewarded there well. But other than that, we do need to invest in students' advocacy, because they know how to do that themselves. Thank you.
Rebuttal to my right.
Thank
No rebuttal. Rebuttal from the third ticket.
I do like the point being about board trustees being brought out. We only have one seat available for a president, which is in most cases an undergraduate student. And I feel that this is a great injustice to other students in this university, mostly graduate and professional students. They deserve to vote as much as we do as undergraduates. So I feel like opening another seat for a student that is a professional undergraduate student would go a long way for the representation for students in the board of trustees.
If you look at one of our peer benchmark institutions, Ohio State University additionally has actual representation on the university senate. We're looking at 26 students from their undergraduate student government, as well as another 10 for an inter-council graduate and professional students. And this increases equity of representation across the board, not only on the board of trustees, but also for university senate. And so we're trying to work to improve communication with groups across campus so that they know about these resources that we've just discussed. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, now for our third question, and we will begin with the ticket directly to my right. What new initiatives do you have planned, and how do they differ from past years?
One of the biggest things the Wheeler Shake campaign is running on, and is we have campaigned on this entire time, is our mental health initiative. This campus has continually made progress, but we see that this progress is just a start. We need to continue to make this progress for this campus, and that is why the Wheeler Shake campaign is committed that if a student goes to the VIP center or goes to the counseling center, they get an excused absence. This means that a student is bettering themselves and bettering their mental health here on campus, and at baseline, you need to be able to have a better mental health here. In addition, we are committed to
Inclusion is another big aspect of our campaign, and I think whether that's applying testing accommodations for ESL students, or as many of you may or may not know, that Ramadan this year will fall during finals week, and allowing for finals accommodations to be made for Muslim students to take the exam after sunset. These are things that we can work with administration on, that they're ready to implement, and so we're ready to kind of get that enacted on day one of our office on our term, and not push the envelope and have to force us to go to sit-ins and to miss class. We want students to be able to go to class and to rest easy, knowing that our administration is putting forward these initiatives and we're working with administration on them.
Another way that we want to continue to that mental health initiative we have is to put a wellness check on your MyUK before registering for classes. A wellness check would allow the community of concern to know how you as an individual are feeling. And so it would be a 5 quick question survey that would be based on a strongly agree to strongly disagree, that would then allow students in the community of concern and administration to know how you physically are feeling. So if another student sends in a message to the community of concern, it would allow the community of concern that there's truly something going on, and we hopefully, and the Wheeler Shake campaign as well as this Wildcat family.
Thank you. To my far right, we'll ask the same question. What new initiatives do you have planned, and how does it differ from previous years?
Okay, so we have about 4 different initiatives that we like to push for our platform. One is creating a coalition between undergraduate and graduate and professional students on campus. I'll let everybody get more into that. Our second is keeping SGA responsive. We want to be able to, I know a lot of people say we want to be more intuitive to the student body, but our idea for doing that is to actually reach out to students. And it's not enough to say that our doors are open, because our doors have always been open. But what's important is if people are willing to walk through those doors. Our office can be an intimidating place. Sometimes I feel out of place in our office. And I, as a member in SGA, feels out of place. And other people that are not members are going to feel out of place in SGA. So making that connection by stepping out of our comfort zone into the other zones of other people is really going to make a difference in our representation and our feedback. The third is, that was the second and third actually, and our fourth is to create a one-stop shop for services on this campus. We have a lot of services available on this campus that people do not know about. Services that I did not know about until I was able to join SGA, and that is not fair. Some of these services are things that I not personally benefit from, but there are people out here that need those services. So it's important that we get the word out on those, and we do a better job of collaborating with these offices so they can have their outreach better impacted by us on campus.
I really want to thank all of our other candidates here because I think some of these initiatives are effective for addressing mental health among our undergraduate student population. But although we have like a shared challenges here with mental health as graduate professional students, it's a different type of circumstance, right? Boston University has implemented a holiday policy where students who are on an assistantship are guaranteed 10 working days per year, and the University of Tennessee also has like the mental health Bill of Rights. So we think these are important steps from the perspective of graduate and professional students. It's also important to reorganize student government so that we have a greater recognition for graduate and professionals.
Thank you very much. And the ticket directly to my right, to the same question. What new initiatives do you have planned, and how does it differ from years past?
So one of our platforms is safety, and when we look at safety, it's all encompassing. So we want to make sure your physical safety is all right, your psychological safety is all right, and also the fact that you feel secure and supported enough to make decisions about your own health and your own well-being. So with that, we are offering self-care days, which actually give the power back to the student, who are actually adults by this point, to take care of themselves. So maybe they just need that day to stay in bed and rest up. Or maybe they need to go visit family, and that will make them happier. Or maybe they need to run errands when all the offices are closed, like after business hours, and they can't go any other time. So this just putting the power back into the students encourages them to take care of themselves and make decisions that are the best for them.
One of the initiatives that I would definitely want to start with SGA that has not been done in the past is stewarding our time with SGA appropriately. You all have elected or we've been hired into these positions, and currently I'm a director in SGA, and I feel that we do not steward our time appropriately for students. We're supposed to be advocating for students, and our meetings are very structured in a way where there's not true opportunity for collaboration. So one thing that I would want to do is do a lot of internal work, because how are we going to represent you if we're not together ourselves? So with that being said, I would like to dedicate some time to collaboration. I'd like to dedicate some time to intentional conversations about issues, and then also internal trainings. Because if we're not aware, as an executive board, then when you tell us your stories, then how can we truly hear you and hear you to understand when it's something new that we never heard? We need to be experts about things before they come up. It's about being proactive, not reactive. Thank you.
60 seconds for rebuttal, beginning with the ticket directly to my right.
Yeah, I think that self-care days sound like a great idea, but if I'm being honest, I think it was a page taken out of my playbook for a third grade class president, right next to free pizza for everybody and ice cream in the cafeteria. And don't get it twisted, we think that self-care and mental health is very important, and that's why we proposed assigning excused absences for people who want to visit the counseling center. But that being said, it's a realistic solution that we can put forward, and if our opponents want to run a campaign on idealism, that's fine, but the president is a voting member on the board of trustees, and we believe in using that power as for more than just symbolic gestures. We believe in actually getting things done.
Rebuttal.
Well, I'm pretty good friends with Olivia Antigua. She's our wellness director on SGA. I've had very in-depth conversations about the concept of mental health days, and while they sound a great idea, I obviously support them because it's really hard to acknowledge when you feel unwell, like mentally, and being able to have to take that into your own hands is a very tricky decision. But unfortunately, wellness days will not be able to come into fruition because they're unpoliceable. It's just a fact of the matter that this university is just not going to let that be a concept. That's unfortunate, but what we can do is advocate to students that they need to seek other means of having their mental accommodations met. For example, the DRC is a very good place to go. I know from personal experience it's very easy to get it done, so I just encourage students to look into that avenue rather than just pushing off a very important subject. I also feel that mental health days are very important, so just look into those actual accessible avenues.
Thank you. Rebuttal to my left.
Yes. So my opponent said that self-care days sound like a third grade president offering like free candy or whatever, but actually it is becoming a very real thing nowadays. I know UK does offer wellness days to its employees because they're recognizing that taking care of your health, your mental health specifically, is so important and so helpful in your well-being and how productive you are, how good you're feeling, and how you're interacting with other people. So I think this is the next wave. I think a lot of the solutions that were talked about today are a Band-Aid on the issue of mental health, but this is something that goes to the roots, and it talks about taking care of your health.
And I think in advocating for self-care days, I've been told by administration that things were impossible, and they've happened. So just to set that out there. So self-care days is something that I don't think we need to be policing people's mental health. Thank you. You want to talk to me after this?
We certainly, I think, are getting a little more lively 3 questions in. So continuing that energy, we're going to move to the ticket. I'll see, I'm catching the pattern and the spirit. To the furthest right of me, our 4th question, how do you plan to get more non-traditional students involved in campus life?
I've been very fortunate to be able to meet with several different organizations and groups of students on this campus that would be classified as non-traditional. I think a term that we never like to use is mature adult learners. These students are students just like the rest of us. They deserve to have experience that everyone at the undergraduate level or the traditional student gets to have here. And that is done by having more conversations with them. It's done by advocating on their behalf. It's done by advocating to administration that doesn't seem to be listening to their demands or their wants or their needs. So I feel like the biggest way that we can go about that is not only like reaching out to them, like I said, physically on their terms like they deserve, it's also giving them the mic when they need it. So often students are not given the chance to speak on their own behalf because there's the only sane couple of people raising their voice. And of course, that is what we need because some people aren't strong enough. Some people don't feel the need to do that, and some people can't. And that's why people like me are about. But it's also about me passing the mic to them in their need.
I think an important component of increasing student involvement here is that we have a comprehensive all-student survey, right? This recently came out last week, but as I took the survey, I realized that most of these questions are geared towards undergraduates, right? So taking this survey as a graduate or professional student is not going to meet my need. It's not going to make me feel that my voice matters in student government. So what I would do is to combine some of the questions that have been developed within Graduate Student Congress when I was the Internal Affairs Committee, and we designed these questions with institutional research. These are questions that are measurable outcomes. These can be assessed, and then these can actually be validated and brought forth to central administration. So I think that brings more weight, more credibility to the survey, and that in turn will increase the student participation. Thank you.
Similarly to my left, how do you plan to get more non-traditional students involved in campus life?
So actually this falls under two of our principles of advocacy and equity. As we talked about earlier, non-traditional students and all students have specific needs. The only person that's an expert on your story is you. So that means that if I'm in a place and I don't communicate with you or I don't have a listening ear for you, then there's no way on the face of this planet that I can advocate for you. So this is a very need-based type of work. That's what equity is. It's assessing the needs of people and being able to supply things for them in the face of that specific need. And I think that we're trying to do a one-shoe-fits-all type of thing right here, but that's not what it's going to take. I need things that are catered to me. What works for me is not going to work for her. What works for her is not going to work for you all. So it's very different. And then also transparent advocacy. When you tell us something, you want some action. I'm not talking for the sake of talking. I don't want to share my story and go through the burden of sharing my story for no reason. I want you to be able to, as student body president, I would want somebody to be able to take what I say and then not only advocate for me, but bring it back to me. This is what that conversation led to. This is what we are going to do. It's been too long where we've talked and talked and talked and had our stories mishandled by Student Government Association. So it's time for change. And then also, I'll let you get some time. I'm sorry, y'all.
So I think just emphasizing what he said about we don't know everyone's story, and when we're talking to someone, it's talking to them face to face on their level rather than talking down on them, or that we're coming in with an administration role or a leadership role. We're students at the end of the day, give or take 4, 5, 10 years, but we're all going through this journey together. So I think just having that respect for the other person and saying we can collaborate and get through this together or create a solution together, I think that's really important.
Thank you. Same question. How do you plan to get more non-traditional students involved in campus life?
Yeah, our opponents like to talk about talking to them, and I think that we should do a little bit more listening and a little less talking. And whether that be hosting forums where we can reach out to minority organizations to see what events they have going on and how we can promote them and support them and have them interact with each other, or whether it's, as I said before, providing testing accommodations for ESL students and testing accommodations for fasting Muslims. I think that we can work with both administration and students to get these people more involved.
Just to talk about what Bilal just said, I think it's very important. During our campaign trail, we have gone to student organizations that are on BB Involved that have never heard of Student Government Association before. And when we are elected, we will do the exact same thing. It's important to talk to organizations all across this campus that have never heard of student government, that don't know what we do, and continue to listen to their story and to bring it back to administration and back to student government and see how we can be a helping hand for them. Because we do have student fee money and we do have resources on this campus, but we need to reach out to all student organizations on this campus, especially BB Involved being that resource for us. We need to use that resource and not continue to neglect that resource like that.
Begin with 60 seconds for rebuttal. Far right.
Yes, I think it's very interesting that we mentioned that we should do less talking and more listening, because that is something that I have been able to do through SGA these past 2 years. I think it's very interesting that a lot of people don't hear from a lot of the candidates on the stage until it's election season, unlike me, who's been able to show up at these events and show up to these organizations rather than asking for an endorsement or a handout when it's time to become elected and time for voting. So I think it's also very important that we, instead of, our talking and listening thing, that we propose legislation that students actually bring up for us to help change on this campus. I don't see a lot of other people doing that, so I think it's very important that before we start throwing stones in glass houses, that we think about what we've done this past year. Thank you.
Rebuttal to my left.
Yes, Bilal, you said that I needed to listen. I think you actually need to listen because we mentioned listening on numerous occasions in our response. So that was kind of the proof right there for you all. Anyway, it's funny talking about listening and talking about, what we need to do. Courtney has been on the leadership team this year, and, I'm the Director of Inclusion Outreach. Sakruti is the Assistant Director for Inclusion Outreach, and every pit stop that we've made, we've been the only 2 people there. And our team has been the only 2 people there. So if you're willing to do the work, then you should have the history to be able to prove that. We have been doing this work before there was a title associated with it. So don't talk about coming around to different student organizations and listening when you have not done the work.
Rebuttal to my right.
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll move to our next question, and we will begin on my left. How will you ensure transparency of Student Government Association to the student body?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes. How will you ensure transparency of the SGA to the student body?
Thank you for asking that question. Transparency is extremely important, and you cannot have true advocacy without transparency. As I talked about in the previous question, when someone is advocating for you, such as the student body president, which is a voting member of the Board of Trustees, as you all know, this person should have a responsibility to advocate for you. I plan to put together, whatever best practice is to be able to communicate with students, whether that be a newsletter weekly or, an update, an agenda, being very transparent with what we talk about, what the conversation led to, what the next steps are, because then that's where the communication is lost. We could already be having conversations about certain things and they're not working. Speaking of lack of transparency, I was a part of the Black Student Advisory Council, which was a grassroots advocacy organization created because there was a lack of transparency and a lack of advocacy within Student Government Association. So I plan to bring that into the picture and actually do some transparent work, some advocacy work so that you know what you're putting your voice into, and there will be a return on your investment.
And also, I think there's an emphasis in student government right now that before we put anything out, it needs to be perfect. It needs to be like an administration wrote it. But I think at the end of the day, we're students, and I think people respond to genuineness and seeing that we are working and we are making the steps along the way instead of just giving the final solution. So I think we're going to bring back that kind of relationship, that personal relationship between student government and the student body.
And making you a part of your advocacy. It's not just us. Like I said, you're the only expert on your story. Believe that. Do not trust anybody to hold your story because they can't do it. They haven't gone through what you've gone through. So as students, you need to be able to have part in that advocacy, and that's what our campaign is about, is giving some of that power back to you so that you can advocate for yourself in addition to us.
Thank you. To my right, how will you ensure the transparency of SGA to the student body?
I think transparency is extremely important, and it's been one of our platform statement, one of our platform points, and one of the most important points. And so during this campaign trail, we have come up with some great ideas on ways to be more transparent within student government. And one of the ways that we've come up with would be to have the student body president or a member of the student government organization to write a monthly article within the Kernel. This would allow students to know what's going on within student government, how they can get involved, and just, again, another piece of PR to tell students what we're all about with student government, because we need to advocate for them, not just for us. In addition, we have the idea of live streaming Senate meetings. This would allow all students who are on this campus who maybe can't get to the Senate chamber by 7 p.m. on Wednesday nights, just live streaming them, and they can, if they choose to go on there because they have a point that they're passionate about, they can go go and watch it from anywhere. In addition, we understand that the student government website needs to have updates. With this, we want to be more transparent. We want it to be more user-friendly for all members of our team and as well as the user. And this is why we have been working with the UK administration in the IT department as we speak to be able to get it to be more user-friendly and to use UK's Amazon Web Services as well as UK's programs, so that now it allows for all directors, all assistant directors, as well as all senators or any leadership within Senate to have student government emails, which would allow for more transparency, more ways to get in touch with students. In addition, it would allow for students or the minutes that happen within Senate and within exec to be uploaded much more fast, much quicker, because it allows us to be more user-friendly. And that is one thing those are the three things that we think it is important and the key important parts of being transparent.
Same question to my far right. How will you ensure the transparency of SGA to the student body?
In order to be transparent, first of all, you need to be available to your constituents, to our students across campus. We're going to meet monthly with student organizations across campus. We'll reach out to them. You can count on us to be there at your meetings when invited to do so, right? Because it's time that we are going over and asking them, how can we do things better? How are we not doing things? And where's the lack of progress? And what can we change about student government as we're evolving, right? So part of this also involves, as has been mentioned, updates to the student government website, but also public records requests, right? If you look back, those public records are difficult to access. Either they're on deeply involved and difficult to find, or you need to find them in hard copy, and I don't think that's acceptable.
Okay, rebuttal, 60 seconds to my left.
Yes, so my opponent, the Wheeler Shake ticket, said that to increase transparency, they would post something in the Kernel monthly. Can you raise your hand if you read the Kernel often? Okay, maybe about 25% of you, and some of you just raising your hand. So, that's my point right there. It's about actually listening to students. If a small portion of people actually read that, then you've missed a whole nother, at best 20%, you've missed another 80% of the people. That's the lack of communication right there. It's about listening. You see how we just asked a question, got a response? Now we would know posting something in the Kernel would not be the best form of communication for you all. It's about listening to students, folks.
Rebuttal to my right.
I definitely would argue that more than 25% of people just raised their hand. And I don't think that we should be up here talking about how nobody reads the Kernel when it's something that we spend student fee money for. It's the resource that SGA has and student organizations have to communicate with the student body. There are over 800 student organizations and 30,000 people on this campus. And if anybody here wants to tell me that they can communicate with every single one of them effectively, I would probably call you a liar. And so the best way that we can do that is by keeping our office open, which we plan on doing, and by reaching out to them through the media. Thank you.
Rebuttal on my far right.
All right, putting a president's letter or whatever in the Kernel doesn't sound like a bad idea. Some people read the Kernel. I do, sometimes. But the thing is, a lot happens in a month. Do you know how much happens in a month? Too much. So having a 1 month response from your president is outlandish. We have meetings every week. If we can't get at least a bi-weekly update from a full Senate meeting, then what is the point of having that communication? What is the point of you writing something in a newspaper that some people may or not read, that's up for discussion, up for debate, if so much is going to happen? I need to know what's happening at this current moment. Also, to the whole transparency thing, one of the best communicators we have is a fall forum, which we actually didn't have last fall. So, what is the point of us talking about transparency if we're not actually having the transparency in the form of actual, communication through students and such? So, yes, thank you for that.
So a final question before we move to closing statements. There's no rebuttal for this question, so I'll begin, and you each, I'll give you about 5 seconds before we start to answer, and then we'll start on my right and go all the way around. If you had 2 words, no more than 2 words, to describe the uniqueness of your campaign, what would those 2 words be? Take 5 seconds, and we'll start to my right.
The Wheeler Shake campaign chooses working together. I think it's easy to.
Just
Working together.
No description.
Sorry.
Working together. To my far right.
Sorry about that.
2 words for our campaign will probably be proud and collaborative.
Proud and collaborative. To my left.
It's time.
It's time. Well, with that, it's also time for closing statements. It's like he make that transition. So we'll do similarly. The numbers drawn will begin with the person who has 1 and move to the right from that position.
We have 1. Just don't wish
Okay, so we will begin with closing statements on my far right. We'll shift to my left and then end to my immediate right.
Alright, thank you so much for your time tonight and hearing what me and my wonderful arrangement have to say. My decision to run for president was not one that I took lightly. It's one that I took a lot of time and consideration. And if I could share one more reason with you why why I'm running, I'd like to share this. I have a brother. He's 17. He's a senior in high school. He's 6'1", and he's 195 pounds. He is my baby. I love him so much. That's my child. And I very much want him to come here. I'm doing my damnedest to get him here. Please give me some advice. Anyway, I want an SGA that is going to be effective for him. I want an SGA that he deserves. I want an SGA that's going to be responsive. I want an SGA that's going to represent him when he gets here. I want an SGA that's going to work for him, me, and everyone else on this campus. Old Wildcats, new Wildcats, and previous Wildcats. I want an SGA that's going to do so much more than it's ever done. I want an SGA that's going to be more that we deserve, everything we deserve and better. So thank you so much for hearing what I have to say.
You know, this is a particularly important year for elections, not just here locally, but think about the national elections. Think about the census that we have decennially, only every 10 years, right? So civic engagement is more important now than ever, and I'll continue to advocate that ever since I was Civic Awareness Engagement Chair at Volunteer LSU in 2013. Okay? So this is the most important thing, is to participate, is to vote, and is to make sure that you're supportive of your peers in spite of the differences they may encounter, and to honor those differences that you have when you come to the table, that we are all unique and that we bring together these differences to make our campus a great place to work. Thank you.
Closing statement.
As this debate comes to an end, I want to remind everyone that it's now or never. Sakruti and I have done the work, shook the hands, had the conversation, have the education, the first-hand experience, and most importantly, we have the passion to do this work for students. We're not here for our personal resumes, but rather a conviction to give SGA the leadership that you all deserve. We're dedicated to true transparent advocacy, all-encompassing safety, and transformative equity work for all students. So I ask you today to make a good decision. I ask you to remove preconceived ideas about what SGA is and dare to imagine what SGA could be, an organization centered around all of you. This change is going to take more than us. It depends upon what you do next Monday and Tuesday.
So we want to leave you with this simple phrase. It's time for advocacy, it's time for safety, and it's time for equity. So please vote March 2nd and 3rd, Chandler and Sakruti.
To my right.
You know, there are some people out there who think that I'm a token minority on this campaign or that I've forgotten my identity. You know, I'm a first-generation American, and when my grandparents moved here, they did it for the sole purpose of giving their children and grandchildren a better education. And if you're a minority like me or a first-generation student, or you come from an impoverished background, then you know that going to college is not a tradition, it's a privilege. And you've probably been told all too many times that you go there, you get your degree, and you get out. You don't get involved with the politics of university administration. You leave that for the legacy students, you know, that you don't become an activist on campus. You try to avoid student loans. Or that, you know, you don't run for anything. That's not what minorities do. We don't run for anything. We don't run for student government. But here I am, and you know, here we are. And I think that's a great testament to how far this university's come. But I just want to say that I haven't forgotten my identity, and I haven't been handed any of this. I've had to fight, you know, at every step of the way to get to where I am today, to accomplish everything that I've done. And to say that, that like I'm just a whitewashed, brown person up here, I think is a disgrace to our campaign and to people who want to recognize what diversity truly is on this campus.
In addition, throughout this campaign process, it's not been about us. It's about our passions, about our experience, and what we want to do to make change on this campus. My passion drives from what happened last January when my best friend who was supposed to be on this campus, supposed to be on this stadium with me, and in this room with me, is not here with us anymore. And that's why it's so important. It's time for change on this campus and to continue to make progress about mental health on this campus. And it's not just about my passion for mental health, and it's not just about Bilal's passions. It's about every Wildcat's passion and about everyone in this room. And that is why we have decided to run to be your next student body president.
Well, thank you all very much, particularly to each of our candidates who are here tonight. I think I'm excited, although I don't get a vote on Monday and Tuesday. I'm excited for what can be in many different directions. Also, thank all of you for being here and being engaged. Make sure to vote. Tell your friends to vote. And have a good night.
For coming and moderating for us on short notice. You did a great job. Thank you so much. So don't forget that the ballot will open on March 2nd, and it will open at 9 a.m. It'll be open on BB Involved until March 3rd at 6 p.m. So don't forget to go out and vote. If you have any questions, feel free to come to the SGA office and talk to me. Thank you.
If you guys have any questions for us, we're going to stay after to answer them. Do we want to hear from students?
Yeah, that's cute.